Good afternoon, dear friends, and welcome to this amazing Saturday, June 20th, where we're going to be spending some time here together once more through the web, through the internet. Hugs to everyone, our electronic hugs or whatever virtual hugs that you want to call. But once more, wishing that we were all together at the SSB. But for the time being, we continue to conduct our virtual meetings here with one another. And in this amazing Saturday, we have Daniel Santos, who will be talking about suicide and how Spiritism can help. Before we go on and we pass the word to Daniel, we would like to just to kind of go over again that today we were supposed to have Kirsten here with us. Unfortunately, Daniel had to cover for her. Everything's fine. Don't worry about it. It's just a little change on the schedule, but that's okay. We'll soon resume our study with Kirsten. But again, it's certainly an amazing topic that we will be talking about today, the suicide and how can Spiritism can guide us and enlighten us about this issue. And how we can conduct ourselves about it as well. Before once more we pass the word to Daniel, let us read a passage of the book Happy Life, by the Spirit Joanna de Angelis and the medium Divaldo Franco. And the message says, "Be a real friend. Know how to conduct yourself with discretion and nobility with those who choose your friendship. Discretion is a rare treasure in earthly friendships. It is normally replaced by insensitivity and unseriousness. Everyone likes noble and discreet company, which inspires confidence and leads to tranquility. Listen, see, follow the conversations with nobility, and be faithful to the confidence deposited in you." Well said. In all times of our lives that we need to cherish one another and the ability that we have to establish and maintain good friendships, right? So before we continue and pass the word to Daniel, let us find a comfortable position, yet attentive, so we can pray, so we can talk to our dear Creator, and invoke the presence of our mentors, our guides, and that we can truly receive from the message today at home. And it's important that we say at home, so that we truly devote this time to this meeting and put aside any distraction that you may have, anything that is bothering you, to truly, again, following one another and send our good vibrations, not only to the speaker, but those who are with us in both realms of life. So let us then send our good vibrations to one another, to our homes, acknowledge our presence fully here, so we can receive this moment of enlightenment. Dear Mother, Father God, Master Jesus, and our mentors, we ask you that you guide our minds and hearts tonight, so that we can learn, for some of us, refresh some of the ideas about suicide, a path chosen by some in the moment of despair, of difficulties. And tonight, we are together to learn how we can guide ourselves towards the topic, towards the action, and to help guiding one another, talking about the continuity of life, even when these moments knocking on our doors. This way, we ask that the teachings that we are about to receive can create seeds of life, seeds of continuity, encouragement, and everything that we need to maintain ourselves in the positive road of life. We ask that you guide our minds and our hearts and the mind of our dear friend Daniel Santos, who will conduct this meeting tonight. And may these blessings touch our hearts, our family members, our friends, our neighbors, our homes. With your guidance, protection, and permission, we open this meeting tonight, and so be it. So it is with joy that we take part again in this meeting every Saturday here at the SSB. And tonight we pass the word this afternoon still. Still sunny back there, right? Out there. And we pass the word to Daniel to conduct us through this meeting. As usual, we will have our comments at the end that we can discuss and ask questions and further the topic a little bit at the end. So hang tight, pay attention, and formulate your questions so we can discuss it at the end. Daniel, please.
Thank you, Leo. It was a very nice introduction, very nice prayer. And I think in this time that we are living right now, it is important for us to resort in prayer. So as you mentioned today, we should have Kirsten here, but she will continue her presentation next month in the chapter that she was assigned to. But today we are here as a plan B, and I hope we can have a great time here learning what Spiritism has to bring to us. And you are may asking why you decide to talk about suicide. Well, we are under a pandemic moment now that has been increased the level of stress to many people across the globe, and it's expected that some people may not have the strength to cope with the situation that we are living in. And a lot of things will happen. It is happening right now in people's home. And we know that it's very important for us to bring a countermeasurement for people that is in a degree of despair that may are thinking about cut their life short. And as Spiritism is considered this consoler that will bring a new perspective in life, we find that probably is a good time for us to revisit this topic of suicide. And it's not only Spiritism, but we know that there are many other organizations out there that also is working very diligent to help people not to take their life short or even like harm themselves because of the situation that we are living in. So, and that's why we wanted to share today in this next probably 50 minutes, 1 hour, what Spiritism has to offer to us in the moment of despair, in the moment that we seems that we don't have any way out. There is no way out. So what to do it? So what we're gonna do today, we're gonna bring some of the facts, causes, statistics about suicide, especially here in the US, but I also will bring the consequences that this can bring to us if we decide to take this route, as well as we're gonna bring, the other side of the situation, how to cope with those moments that is very distressed for, a lot of people right now. So let me share here my slide, and I'm gonna remove Leo from here. So as we see, this first picture, just for you to get a sense of what it is when someone is really like in a, that we say, in a dark moment of their life. And here is one thing that I would like to share is that this is something that we all go through at some point in our life. Once we are here in this planet, incarnated, as you know, in this physical body, we are all uh, subject to have moments, ups and down moments. And these two pictures just to show to you a little bit how one life can be when we really don't know how to cope with a difficult situation. It's like our life become dark, become like this gray environment that whatever way you look at, whatever side you look at, it seems there is no light. It's just this situation that's going to get dark and dark. So the idea for us here is to bring some awareness, okay? And the first question that I think is important for us to ask is that what is suicide? Suicide is an act of intentionally hurting oneself. So there is an intention. But here is the thing: the intention comes because there is a pain moment, a pain situation. This pain could be psychological, could be emotional pain, could be related to any things that we're gonna see further as we move in our presentation. But at the end is a way to find relief, okay? Because you do this intentionally, sometimes not totally aware of the consequence in order to relieve yourself from a difficult moment, a suffering that becomes unbearable, okay? So suicide, it is the second leading cause of death here in America, okay? And we're gonna show some statistics that was published by the CDC, I believe 2 years ago, that shows how much in the last 15, 17 years, this number has increased so much. And also, in the population of teenager, you know, is like 6,250 teens each year die from suicide attempted or die for suicide cause. So that is very alarming because we always expect that only people that is really like an adult life that has the courage to commit suicide. But nowadays, suicide has been across all the generation, even among children as well. You know, and the causes is different kinds of causes that lead a one to commit suicide independently of the generation. If it is someone that is young or someone that's old or middle age. So the question is that the person become unbearable to cope with that situation. So let us bring some of this result that CDC has published 2 years ago, exactly 2 years ago. And so that was a research, that was a data that was collected between 1999 to 2016. We're talking about around 15, 16, 17 years of data that was collected, showing the suicide rate increased significantly in 44 states, with 25 states experience increasing greater than 30%. Wow, that is a big number and really alarming. Rate increasingly significantly among males and females in 34 and 43 states, respectively. So which means more female is committing suicide in the last 15, 16, 17 years. And the question is why? You know, there is a big question mark here. And the causes varied, you know, I mean, as we observe society, as women also become more active in society, in the society, compared to probably, you know, 50 or 100 years ago. So of course they're gonna experience the same kind of distress that men has experienced. And this showed to us that, once we before a situation like is a despair, suffering, doesn't matter the gender, you wanted to ease that suffering. And sometimes the way that people are choosing is commit suicide. So here we can see the distribution across the country in this data that was published by the CDC. And we see that those states, let me put my, those states that is in this region, the middle of the country, for example, the increase was between 38 to 58% of suicide. So, and then if we move like to more like north of the US, we will see that this increase was between 31 to 37%. And then scattered throughout the country, we will see an increase of 19 to 30%. There is only one country here, that is Nevada, that for some reason is the lowest one. And don't ask me why, because I don't know the cause. So, but if you wanted to dive in and read more deeply the discussion in this paper, so I have the link below and I can send to you. So this shows to us that why, if we look at nowadays our life and can compare to like 50 years or 100 years ago, it seems that life is much better today than was before. And it seems that people is, not able to cope with the difficulties that they have in their life. And the question sometimes is not supposed life to be better now if we compare to 50, and even if we have a problem to solve because of our technology, because the way of living will probably be easy. But what we are seeing here is the opposite. It's like the increasing in people that doesn't have the strength to face the problems in their life. So let us move on. And in this topic, for example, factors. So if we look at what is the main factors that we learn of someone that decide to commit suicide. So as we see here, so the number one is relationship problem. Okay, 42% of people that commit suicide, and this was also is from the CDC, is a data from 2015. We see that 42%, almost like half of the people that commit suicide, more 8% would be half. They are like, because of a relationship. And I think now we are starting to kind of understand why, it is important for us to revisit the concept of family, the concept of relationship. And also then comes cries in the past, so upcoming 2 weeks, 29%. Problematic substance abuse, and this is a serial business, a serial problem in our society, 28%. Physical, I'm putting Microsoft, physical health problem, 22%. Oops, sorry about that, 22%. And this definitely is something that one want to make to relieve their pain or their suffering, so they think that cut their life short would be the solution. Criminal legal problems, 9%. And the last one, loss of housing, 4%. So here we have like a picture that the factors that may lead someone commit suicide. And right now, relates to the situation that we live in. I think one of the problem that if we have to do right now this research, if we look at the financial and job problem, this number probably would be, a little greater than 16%. And right now we are in the middle of a pandemic situation, so we don't have yet. Science is not the main objective, the main goal of research right now. Biological science, medical science, they are more worried to find a treatment or a vaccine for the virus that has been spread across the globe. So, but I believe that data relate to suicide because of financial and job loss will also increase. And we are here bring, after this introduction and data, bring some aspect that Spiritism teaches uh, uh, to get strength, to face, the adverse situation that a pandemic or a war or revolution, when of those cries hit humanity, we need to resort to in order for us to protect ourselves. Okay, so causes, common causes of suicide are thinking, uh, are, are things happening in your life or my life or in the life of others, and sometimes you're feeling like you are not able to handle it alone. So that's the main thing. Okay, so you have a issue that becomes unbearable and you cannot handle, and sometimes instead for yourself or the person seek for some help, they internalize and they start to feeding that thought that is not worthly to live, and then they decide to cut their life short. Okay. Um, for example, victims by suicide experience a tunnel vision and may feel like this is the only option to get themselves out of the problem. Okay, so so this this tunnel vision, this idea that, okay, if I cut my life, then light will appear, because now I feel that I'm in the dark, or we'll feel in the dark, because there is no solution for our problem or the person's problem. It is an illusion. And why we say it's an illusion? Because we have a lot of accounts that has come through the Spiritist literature that show to us that that decision was not the best decision. And we're gonna bring an example for this situation. So now I would like to move from the data to what Spiritism can bring to us, and how can we take this teaching and apply in our lives. Okay, I'm here talking to you. Uh, uh, it's not because I'm not completely. It's not because I have completely mastered what Spiritism has bring to us, but I can assure you that has bring a tremendous impact in the life of many people, that has helped them to go through a situation, a problem, a suffering. And I and that is what we that has been benefit for this teaching should do, is make this available as well. To translate, of course, you can go and read the books. You can go and, you know, um, the comfort of your home, go and read those books. But just reading without putting practice, without face the situation, would be almost a waste of time. I usually say that, because the main goal of our life is learning, is understand our learning, and then puts in practice when this situation arises. Okay. So from the spiritist perspective, what spiritism can help, especially in this moment, that I'm sure there is a lot of family out there that may be thinking about, you know, get rid of their life. Okay. So what we learn with spiritism first is that we are immortal spirits living a human experience. Thus, we don't die. only the physical body perishes. So, so here is a different way to see the situation. Okay, uh, we are face a problem, and we all here face problems because we are in a planet of trial and expiation. So it means that we always will be tested. You know, depends how we will face or manage the situation. We make the difference in our life. So by know that, okay, if we decide or whatever situation we need to choose in order to minimize, to mitigate the pain that we are going through, I hope commit suicide will not going to be an option over there. But if this is crossing your mind, I will invite you to rethink and to meditate about the possibility that we, the spirit, don't die. Only the physical body. Of course, we're going to lose the physical body because the physical body is transitory. It's this tool that that God gave us in order for us to progress here in the material plane, to interact with matter and to also put in practice what we have learned in the other side as well. So this book, Memoir of a Suicide, um, as the name already say, Memoir of Suicide, is a collection of cases by people that has committed suicide. And this book was psychographed by the Spiritist scholar in Brazil, Ivone Pereira. And the books talk about how we are all creatures of habit, and that people who attempt to commit suicide are not doing this for the first time. So if you have that tendency that every time a problems arise, and then the first thing that comes to your mind is, oh, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to live here. I wanted to disappear. Then this is showing to us that that was not the first time. That probably past lives experience also um, 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 has had pushed you to commit suicide, and now when the situation arises you feel like you need to go and do the same. So that's one way that we should, do this evaluation when we face a tremendous problem. I'm not talking about day-to-day problems, little problems that we have. I'm talking about the big issues, certain as this issue that we are living right now with tremendous amount of uncertainty because we don't know what's going to happen. So if this thought is growing onto your mind during this time, so it's better like try to counterbalance, to substitute for positive thoughts as well. And we're going to bring this at the end of our presentation. So many of the spirits that have suffering from this, I believed to have gone through this before and have created this mental habit. Well, if we apply this for situation like suicide, the the same we can apply for good things, for people that really has virtues. If people has an uneasy way to express themselves and to help others and to bring this virtue, is because that was not the first time this person has doing that for many reincarnation. So but the case here is that, okay, if facing a problem, and let's bring here financial problem, for example, a relationship problem, and the first thing that comes to your mind is take your life away, your physical life, because as a spirit you cannot destroy your life. Only God could do this, and he's not, or she or it is not going to do it. So you need to think. You need really to think and start to find ways to change that approach. Okay, change that approach. Let's see. So I would like to share with you this case. That's the case of Amadeus Ferrari, um, that was published in this book, Memoir of Suicide. I believe we have, not me, but we have talking about this case in previous conversation at the center. And I just wanted to bring this case to emphasize that commit suicide is not gonna uh, completely get rid of our suffering. Okay, so this case, I just highlight like some of step of this case, and this case is in the book, The Memoir of Suicides, the case of Amadeus Ferrari and Felicio the Slave. This is chapter 18. If you have the book, you can go back and read the whole case. It's very dramatic. It's like, we're gonna do some highlight of the case only for you to picture that, cases like this are still happen nowadays. Okay, so the case start like this. Amadeo was a very hard working and had a good life, but suddenly find out he had throat cancer. Not being able to pay for the treatment, he decided to steal a lot of money from the bank. He was a banker, okay? The bank found out, and he realized that he was in a tough situation and that he could either run from it or learn to deal with it. So what he chose? Unfortunately, he decided to take his own life. So now what happened? Okay, so he was a hard work man. He probably was a good citizen. And in the moment that he find out he has that time, that cancer was considered a terminal disease, that there is no uh, cure, and this was in the early 19th century, early 20th century, last century, probably 1920 something or 30s. So he find out he has throat cancer, and now what to do? In the middle of desperation, what he decide to do? Stealing money from the bank. We are not here judging if, because when we find ourselves in the middle of a desperate situation, our reason, doesn't kick in, and we do whatever we want to survive. So it's more like a mechanism of survive that kick in on him, and he decided to do that. But, if we messed up with human laws or God laws, sooner or later, the consequence will show up. That's what happened. The bank found out. So what happened? So he decided to commit suicide. So he suffers a lot on the other side and was taken to a valley of suicide to be helped. So for those that know about the valley of the suicide, I also learned that the valley of the suicide, by reading this book, and this is in the lower zone, is in the spiritual plane, but in a different region that has a lot of suffering. And this has been portrayed in different, not in spiritism, but either in moves. For example, if we have watched that movie, What Dreams May Come, kind of portrayed exactly what in this book as well. And so this valley of suicide is a place that, people that commit suicide, they may go to that place. What we wanted to do a disclaimer here is not that we should not, if we have someone that has committed suicide in your family or a friend, so let us not put everybody in the same box, because each case has a different outcome, okay? So in this particular case, I'm gonna just narrate here what exactly happened. We're not gonna go to the detail what happened in the other side, but the one thing we can say that he suffers a lot. Okay, he suffered a lot, but in those places, even in those places, there is place spiritual colony or institution that is there to help. And we know that in the book they describe one that is coordinated by spirit that is under the supervision of Mary, the mother of Jesus. So read the book and you're gonna get all this detail. So then what happened? So after many days in the institute, that because after many surgery he was rescued to the institute, a professor has come to talk to the group, to a group of suicide. So, and there is this a moment that is kind of a therapeutic session with groups of spirit that was done in group. So, and this professor that was very knowledgeable would help to do some kind of past life therapy in the spiritual plane. So they were going to be they were going to be an exercise based on self-reflection, which a spirit who has committed suicide find it's very hard to do it. It's very hard to do it. And here is it's very hard to do to face yourself. It's difficult to face the failures that we have done in our life. We don't want to think about it. You know, if we did something, if we experienced something that brought tremendous pain in our life, we wanted to put aside. We don't want to deal with this. But what happened in this institution, one of the therapeutic approach is all those spirits that has committed suicide, they need at some point, in order for them to move on and to prepare themselves to reincarnate again, they need to face the problem that they didn't fix when they didn't face when they were in the physical body. So this is the mercy of the creator. At some point we need to face this situation. So, and of course there is specialized doctors and spirits in the other side as well that will help, you know, because it's something that's very difficult, as you see here in the text, for those spirit that has committed suicide to do it. Because what happened when you remember a trauma, you leave the trauma, and that's not fun. That's not fun. That's not good. So then what happened? So this therapy, as I will just summarize here the text. So through past life regression therapy, Amadeo discovered he was a slave owner. Well, I decided also to bring this because we are living in the middle of a situation that remerge the problem of racism. So, and then I think this story fits in what is happening nowadays, especially here in the US. So Amadeo discovered he was a slave owner. One slave group he owned was a family. That was very common in that time. So what happened? One day he decided to torment a young girl and raping her. And she was so distraught, she was so disturbed that she decided to take her life, her own life. So now Felicio, the slaver, the girl's father, told the slave master, in this case Amadeo, that he's gonna go to hell for raping his daughter. Amadeo ordered his tongue to be cut out. This was like really, really disturbing. You know, when you read the book, it's very disturbing. So, of course, the father, in a way to defend the daughter's honor, and the daughter already had committed suicide because she was raped by the slave master. Guys, I know that this is very graphic, okay? But Hollywood has put more graphic stuff out there. TV has put more graphic stuff out there. And this is real. This is real. So this was real. So now what happened? Okay, so now Amadeo, that was the banker that committed suicide, learned in the other side that he, you know, past life, not the life that he was a banker, was the life before he was a banker. So he saw this. And in the way that, if you read the book, the way that it's portrayed is like a 4K screen open up, you know, as the as the spirit, the suicide spirit is doing the life regression therapy, a 4K screen open up, and whatever happened to the spirit is projecting this screen, and all the other spirit that is doing the therapy, they are seeing what's happened. Okay, so and then he realized that. So what happened next? So after the professor decide to talk to him, do the counseling to Amadeus, he decided to bring Felicio, that was the slaver, to talk to Amadeus. At the same moment, Amadeus create a repulsion. He doesn't want it to. He doesn't want it to because it was already so much painful to see that situation. So, but then the professor decided to bring Felicio, and that was very emotional. Amadeus became very emotional and sobbing and completely in disbelief that that person was not him. You know, he couldn't accept. But the files that we store in our mind, in our perispirit, will never be deleted. At some day, will be emerged, and we need to face. So now Felicio, that the slave that was already has moved on in life, although he was, of course, he died because his tongue was cut out. He died for bleeding. But in the other side, he learned about, that was also some kind of cause and effect. I'm not going to explain, bring Felicio's life. You need to read the book. And in that therapy session, agree to come back as his son to help him, to see life, the beauty of life, and to learn new perspective in life. So the end of this story is beautiful, because there is this moment of forgiveness between the one that caused pain, the one that was the victim in that lifetime. But in the same time, a new, opportunity for this spirit, Amadeus, is giving to him to reincarnate. And that slave that also has already, overcome or moved to the next phase of their life without being, because the slave, once wake up on the other side, he may take a different approach. He may start to prosecute. As we learn in André Louis' series, a lot of cases of spirit that feel victim of, wrongdoings become a prosecutor. So we all have choices that we need to make, and the choice will have also bring consequences. Okay, so what to do now? What to do? We are in this situation that we don't have a clear way what to do it in our homes. So, and then we have too many questions what to do it. So one of the things that you may know, what to do it, but it's never too much to repeat, to reinforce. The first thing is get the treatment you or your loved one needs. If someone cannot advocate for themselves, or advocate for them. And we know that we need to respect people's free will. Maybe in your family you have a spouse, or you have a son or a daughter, or you have a cousin, someone, or a friend that because of our ego, because of our, pride, we don't want to acknowledge that we have a problem. But it would be nice, the first step is to acknowledge, okay, I reached a level that I can't cope. I don't see any way out. I really need to have some external help, and it's important for us. And we may be in that situation one day, and we should ask the question, if I was in that situation, what I would like someone to do for me? It's the golden rule, isn't it? And vice versa. So another way that we can cope with the situation is establish a support network around you with the help of colleagues, counselor, family members. Okay, maybe you said, Daniel, I don't have money to pay a psychologist. I lost my job. What to do it? Well, here is something very important that we'd like to share with you is that, sometimes we think that the money is the most important thing, but before money, have people that we trust in this moment would be uh, much better, because sometimes you have a lot of money but you don't know how to manage or use that money well, so you may lose time. Sometimes we don't have money but you have good friends, you have your community, you have your church, or you have uh, someone in your job that is very balanced, and that you can trust. So one of the things that sometimes we like to say is like, okay, so what happened if you have a problem with your car? You wanted to bring to a mechanic shop or to, someone to see what's the problem in the car. The first thing you do is ask, okay, do you know someone that is a good on this specific problem? To fix my car or to fix my house, So we wanted the person to be good and to come and fix. But when we talk about our emotional issues, we become a little bit, pride, because we don't want to expose ourselves. And that's fine. I think you should to find a way to also protect yourself, because we don't know what other people is going to say or do. But that's why we need to do our homework. We need to look around. Okay, if I have a problem that is a psychological problem, do I have like someone that has a professional in psychology that can give me some hint what to do it? I'll go to that. I'm not gonna go to someone that is my friend that is good in fix car and talk about a psychological problem. If it is a spiritual problem, you don't go to, for example, to the hospital. I mean, you may go, but problem if it is a spiritual problem, you may go to a church or to a spirit center. So you need to find the appropriate channel to help in that specific issues. We have so many issues in our life. That's why we have different professionals out there to fit or to help in different issues as well. So we need to ask this question. If the problem is you need to have you have problem in your physical body, you need to have a rehabilitation approach. So you're gonna look for someone that is a specialist on that field. You have a legal problem, so you look around and talk to someone that's a lawyer that will give to you some suggestion what to do it. But what happens sometimes we talk to people that's not specialists in that issue, and then we end up has what? Bad advice, and we probably lose more time than we should not, if we have like, look for the appropriate people that can help us. Okay, that's just a suggestion. So let's go back here to our slide. We are approaching if the end of our presentation. If we have suicide thoughts, remember treatment can help you regain perspective. And there is a lot of good organization, suicide prevention, numbers that you can call. I mean, it's in the tip of your cell phone, so we should not complain that we don't have lack of support. If we don't have the support, it's because we are not looking for, because there is support out there. You don't need to be spiritist. You don't need to be religion person, because we are in a level that our society that when comes to human life, we have organization that is put in place to help. Okay. So how can spirit continue help us? Spirits bring awareness about the true purpose of our current life and how to cope with our struggles. So what kind of awareness then? Oh, if you go to the Spirit Center, for example, we have, beside of this moment that we spend together here, teachings, training courses, but also we have the Spiritist therapy. We have the passes, we have the fluidic water, we have the fraternal assistance. There is many things that inside of the Spiritist arena we can take advantage as a support. So it's important to talk to people, either the persons from the Spirit Center, reach out and, in a sense of respect and privacy. So Spiritism, Spirit Center provides this kind of service. As I mentioned, study group, counselor, passes, those things also is the mean of support. So understand also, change our paradigms, change our way to see life. Now we need to understand that death does not exist. The death of the spirit does not exist. The perishment of the physical body will there is an end, as everything that's matter has an end. We live many lifetimes, and ending your life only ends life of the physical body. So for our reflection, from in the Genesis chapter 19, the title is "The Time Has Come," item 9. We get this excerpt, we get this passage from the Spirit's Dr. Barry, and he said like this, and I found this very interesting because this can be applied to the moment that we are living. Okay, so he said, after nearly a century, earthly humanity has arrived at one of these growth periods and is in the middle of a transformative endeavor. That is why humankind is being shaken on all sides, cut up in the kind of fever as if driven by an invisible power until it is settled on a new foundations. Whoever sees it afterward will find many changes in its customers, its character, its law, and its beliefs. In another word, in its entire societal aspect. So what we are looking, what we are seeing now in our planet, basically, it is this change in all, as Kardec mentioned, in all sector of our society. I mean, things is not going to be the same after we cross this pandemic. The same way, thing was not the same after the Second World War, after the first one, after the second one, and also after the disease that we had in the last centuries. So now we experience one of those moments that we're gonna jump into a new reality, that the old habit or the old way to live will be different. We remember here how was traveling in an airplane before September 11. We didn't have TSA. We didn't have the tight security that we have in the airport. That changed. Probably our little children now, when they go and fly, for them that's normal. But for those that experience or fly before September 11, will remember how was before. So, and all this come in a way to improve our security and also diminish the spread of evil in our planet. The same thing is with our pandemic, with disease. Things is going to change. And we should be open to accommodate changes in our life. Otherwise, we're going to be suffering. We're going to be opening our mind to influences that is not good. Okay. So to finalize, I would like to read this message, and this message is in the book After the Storms by Divaldo Franco and Joana de Angelis. It's just an excerpt of the message, the chapter 18. And Joana says something very interesting, and the title of this chapter is called Suicide. I didn't put the whole chapter here because it's about 3 pages, but this part of the message I think it's very uplifting for us. Even if you will not cross your mind to commit suicide, but also you have those moments of feeling down. And by reading this message, will help you to lift you up. So the message said, if your day appears to be gloomy and frightening, wait for tomorrow. Wait a little longer when everything seems to drive you into despair. Just wait a little bit more. Divine providence has ways of each you are has a way of each you are completely unaware for clarify things and remove errors and difficulty. So God can do anything. Okay, love life and love to live. Love life and love to live, even when misunderstood and undergoing great sacrifice and threatening a torn road. Recover, recover today what you have wasted yesterday. Never entertain the simplistic idea of suicide. It is the most complex and unfortunate things that can happen to man. Man here as humanity, represent humanity, okay? If your suffering seems unbearable, think think, okay, I think there's a repeat, of Jesus and his utter humiliation on the cross. So, Joanna brings this to us that um, uh, because we are not yet in that level of high spirit, sometime when suffering knocking our door, we always need to also to contemplate the idea that, you know, that is just the tail of the comment. As a friend used to say to us, imagine the comment is gonna hit you full force, but sometime because of the mercy of God, because of the intervention of loved ones in the spiritual plane, so we just have a little uh, action or effect of what really supposed to be. So, and one thing that I would like to finalize, and we already finished here, and we can move to the questions, is that we always need to remember, if we are spirits and we think, we emit our thoughts, we also receive it. And receiving the thought will depend of the emission of what we are sent. If our thought is a positive one, those thoughts can come back potentiated by positive thoughts. If our actions is a positive action, the same thing can happen. But the same mechanism, the same mechanics apply for the negative side. So in this moment that we are living a very, I would say, uncertain moment, it's very important for us to concentrate in the positive. We should watch the news, we should read the information out there, but also we should do our triage, what we are putting in our mind. So our mind cannot be deceived later by negative thoughts that may lead us to a suicide experience. I will stop here. Thanks so much for bearing with me here. I'll bring Leo to help us with the question and answers. And Leo, I think we are mute, man.
Yes, I was. Thank you, Daniel, and thank you everyone for sticking with us today. And as I mentioned, sending vibrations to one another as we hear, and sending vibrations to Daniel as well to talk about such an important topic that it's not easy to talk about it. And we got to remind one another that we're not alone, right? When we are speaking about important and very delicate topics as this one. Nothing is by chance. Today we start our meeting. Before we start our meeting, we chose a message, and it starts this way. I'm going to read the first phrase and the last phrase that Joanna De Angelis says to us in the book Happy Life. Be a real friend, right? And the last phrase is listen, see,
Mm.
follow the conversations with nobility, and be faithful to the confidence deposited in you. Why is this important in this whole topic, right? Sometimes we think that we open these messages randomly, but is one of the antidotes is that Daniel brought here is the this ability to be to have a network, right? And sometimes people are seeking naturally this to create this network, and we're not there, and not we're not exercising our ability to extend a hand, a shoulder, with someone who wants to talk, who needs to talk, right? Because it could be that moment that you're listening, that
Yeah.
you're looking at the person, right, Daniel, that you can really show to the person that, oh, wait a minute, I was thinking about this or that, issue, that it was everything in my life, but no, there is this person that I can count on. So I think friendship is really a good help in this whole thing. I don't know if you have anything to say, Daniel, to
Yeah.
that, and then I'll go on with some of the questions that actually have come up and some comments.
Yes, yes. No, you're right, Leo. Jesus says, make friends, make friends. So everything that Jesus said to us and lived was not a lie, you know. We are the one that lies, okay? But Jesus, as a pure spirit, everything that he said, we should take highly in consideration. And one of the things that he says is like, make friends. Now, here is the question. Okay, Daniel, you may ask, okay, but so what else? I can make friends. Well, you need to do a research. The same way that you wanted the best thing for your life, of course, you wanted to make good friends. And who are the good friends? How can we analyze if that friend is gonna help us or not? Well, depends what kind of influence that friend has in your life. If you have those kind of friends that invite you to do things that's not bind by the law, that's against the human law, against God's law, then you need to rethink. Although you have the free will to still make friends, but it's always this checking and balance that we need to have in place. It's very important. It's called a modern mechanism of survive. you know so you always need to look for the right situation in all aspect of our life. When we go to shopping for food, we wanted to buy the best food, the best tomato, the best meat, the best, vegetable if you are a vegetarian. So it needs to be organic, it needs to be like, without pesticides. So it's the same thing for our relationship. We don't want it to have friends that we bring some kind of poison to our life.
Perfect, thank you. And,
Question?
and we also have some comments, mainly showing our friends saying good afternoon, the welcoming part of it, and bringing the joy to this discussion as well. Paula actually have thanked as well for this talk, and she says, I will move this book up in my reading pile. Not, and it's, I believe it is entitled "Not My Will but Thy Will." Saved me twice this lifetime. Now I know I carry the mental habit. I never read it. Maybe Daniel, I don't know if you are aware.
Thank you, Paula.
I believe it's from Chris Zelinsky. I was looking here as she actually put on here. Paula can actually say that is correct or not, but I believe it's Chris Zelinsky, the author.
Okay. Okay, so not my way, but okay.
And
Okay, Paula. Yes. I mean, like, if it's like that, even for books, for information, also we need to apply the same thing to make friends. There is so much information out there nowadays, and we need to also like have a good foundation to choose the best information to feed our mind. Some of the information out there is bring despair to your life. It's crazy because with the advance of technology that really has helped us a lot, but also bring the some negative things, some negative mind that is still out there. I'm not saying that there is no problem in the world. Yes, there is problem. But as once I heard someone said, if you wanted to perpetuate an idea, just talking about. If you don't want it, just forget it. Just don't talking about. Of course, there is case by case. We need to put in context what we're gonna be talking about that is really an issue in our life or in our society, and those that is just like creation to create more chaos in the middle of the chaotic environment that we are already living in. So it is a tremendous work that we need to do, Leo, in order for us to keep our mind a healthy mind.
That is true. And then we have Sami also thanking you for the talk as well. As always, it's a great reminder to all of us. And then moving on to Regina, she says many teenagers are creating an echo chamber in social media where they argue for the meaninglessness of life and propose suicide as a solution. How can we help?
Great question, Regina. And yes, this is becoming a statistic, and we have discussed about this before. I have a teenager now, a young adult daughter, and she has been involved in many of those subjects in her school. So that's true. And the question here is first of all, um, um, before we help, we need to detect what's the problem, you know? And this can be a very complex situation because if you are just looking the single life of that individual, that teenager, then I mean, like, we maybe go to the medication or a different approach that just tackle this lifetime. But we learn in Spiritism that the teenager, the little children, and we ourselves, we have come to this lifetime with so many baggage or experience from past life. If suddenly we have like a wave of spirit reincarnating with this mentality, what we learn in our presentation is that when people start to create some mentality or we start to think about a possibility that can be harmful, is because it's not the first time. It is not the first time. This can also be applied to the positive one. We have a wave of spirit reincarnate during the Renaissance to bring, a different way to see life. We have a wave of scientists and people reincarnate in the end of 19th century, the mid of 19th century, beginning of 20th century, to boost the Industrial Revolution. So now that we acquire so much technology and improve the way that we live, that we can live, so we have pretty much, in terms of, for example, our physical body, even related to physiology, discover everything almost. We have medication for everything. Of course, we still need to improve a lot. But now there is a wave of spirit that has been reincarnating that they need to deal with the moral issue. And sometimes when they face the adversity, the situation, that they don't have the instant gratification, and we have a great population of spirit incarnate nowadays that once they face a problem, they don't know how to deal with that. Even if they have parent or school system that has taught this, they still have live in that situation. So the approach for those people, first of all, is what Jesus taught us: love. We need, if you have in your family a teenager or someone that we don't know how to help, love is the key. I know that it's easy to say because when we are in the middle of the situation, even to bring that love, it can be tricky, But this will also help in this situation. As a society, this is something that has been already especially with the advance of technology that bring good things, but also, thanks God, there is technology also is revealing what's going on in the mind of this teenager. And there is institution that schools that has already put programs to try to help, you know, and this shall pass, you know, but it is a reality, and I agree, Regina. How can we help? Well, we cannot deny that there is a problem out there. We need to face with love and find the best um, um, professionals to help in this case. What else?
Daniel, thank you. Actually, just reading a couple things here. Irasema also say, thanks for tonight's topic. As always, we learn more and more. And then Paula, I believe, following up on what we were discussing, and when we read her last comment, the quote is a paraphrase of Jesus, right? Alba also sent on a private here, very interesting, very well, a good reminder, mentioned about the suicide hotline. That is
Yes.
also an opportunity for us to call if we're not in that position, and then the number I can put on the on here on the
Yeah, I can put it here though. I got
uh,
it here.
it's always a good idea. But as you put on that, Daniel, I would like to make a comment
Go
and
ahead.
slash question. One of the things that and this is, I would like to, say personally, that also happens, I hear from other people too in different situations, right?
Mhm.
You mentioned one word that, one phrase at the beginning, that suicide is the act of intentionally hurting oneself, right?
Mhm.
And I took, and obviously we cannot take this word literally, or, in a way judge and say that is the other way around. The idea of intentionally, right? And this is something that I argue a little bit, because sometimes we're not thinking to hurt ourselves directly, but
Mhm.
we, based on the lack of action, or becoming a product of the environment, we are hurting ourselves, right? We let ourselves go. Why am I discussing this, right? Because a lot of times we don't have the intention to say I want to kill myself, and not necessarily one will take one's life, right? The person will not take his or own life, but
Mhm.
we do things that ultimately we will discarnate, we will hurt ourselves. And we don't want to, if we don't get to that point of taking our lives, we don't want to call it suicide.
Mhm.
But it is for sure taking our own life little by little, right? Using energy
Mhm.
little by little. So my point that I would like to make, and the questions I would like to ask, taking consideration that if somebody has done this in the past, but it doesn't do now, but is still in this mode of, oh, I don't want to do this, this life is too hard, the person feels down, or it stops doing something that was appealing to him or her or a family member, because life is too hard. I mean, we see people in this pandemic, throughout this pandemic, these tough times that we're going through right now, say, "Oh, I don't have the energy to do this. I don't have the capabilities to do these things." And then the person their guard down, right? Or
Mhm.
they start feeling sad, or they really fall from the wagon, if we can say that way.
Mhm.
What do we need to do? Some people, they don't have the desire to exercise. They don't have the desire to study. They don't have the desire to work, or to look for new things, right? What
Mhm.
do we need to do? Because to me, is that a sign of a taking our own lives away, or is this a sign of leading that may lead to a case of quote unquote suicide or not?
So, Leo, there is a lot of aspect. There is a lot of point that you brought here by doing this analysis that I think probably because of time we're not gonna have time to tackle. But I can bring here my personal view. It's not spiritist view because um, um, what I'm bring is based on what I have read in spiritism. Um, so first we need to for people that doesn't have, they're always in this stage that you you just mentioned. Uh, the first thing that the person needs to do is try to get to know their self. And Daniel, how do you do that? It is a process, you know. In life, once we come to this lifetime, from the moment we are born, I mean, we are learning. We are learning how to walk, and how to walk is not overnight, you know. We walk, we fall, we walk, we fall, until one day we don't need to have anyone hold us. And sometimes we have people that's in different level of life. There's some that is learning how to walk, they are learning how to cope with this initiative. Okay, let me see my feelings, let me see what's happened to me, you know, let me get up and go and do what I have to do it, you know. There is somehow a accommodation that you reach, we all reach a accommodation mode in life. And 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 that's why when the law of progress come and push you, you know. So of course, even to deal with this I would say obstacle in our life, is going to require a effort for each one of us. Okay, I may come to a friend and tell them, look, if you do this, if we do that, but at the end of the day, if the person doesn't take that advice and move on and do by themselves, as when we teach the children, the child to walk, they never gonna move on until one day really suffering comes, pain so hard that they need to go and do something. That's not the scenario that we wish. Of course, there is reincarnatory process that plays a role. We all have experience, past life experience that may play a role in this lifetime. We should not discard this, but we learn in spirituals that sometimes majority of our problem, this is in the spirit's book. The problem we cause the problem here in this lifetime.
Hmm.
It's a few problems we bring from past lifetimes. So we have an opportunity to come, and sometimes we procrastinate. Or it's not procrastinate, but I would say, or we change the priority. We choose the priorities, you know. So we have a bunch of options in our life. But then we choose we choose the priority that probably not gonna help us to get our mind strength when the real problem arises. Okay, so it's a train of our mind. And here is something that I would like also to bring, Leo, is that if you feel yourself living those kind of experience, don't desperate, because help is always out there. There is one that, you know, we just post over there, the Alba mentioned, the suicide hotline. If you don't want to talk to your friend, or don't want to talk to someone that you know, just call this number and have a conversation. Call
Right.
in the middle of the night, you know, when everybody's asleep in your home, and say, hey, look, this is what's happening. Those people, they are training professional to talk to you, to give a good advice. And here is the beauty of God's mercy, is that is always helping us through others,
Right.
either to the incarnated ones that is behind of a call center, but also to friends, because sometimes they cannot access us. Our mentors, our guardian angel cannot access our mind, because we are vibrating in a frequency that they have no way to break that frequency. So we need to be helped by others. And here is the other things that I wanted to finalize, based on your comment, is that yes, if it is difficult to get up in the morning, if it is difficult to do stuff, talk to someone, call a friend, and, you know, read good books, watch inspirational movies. You know,
Mhm.
there is plethora of things out there that we can take advantage of that. Read spirit's book, read those novels that we have. You know, if you're not spiritist, you know, read whatever you think that will help you. There is a lot of resource out there that can help us. We cannot complain that there is no help. There is help, but
Right.
we need to do our homework.
Thank you, Daniel. And this is definitely a lot of food for thought for all of us. And as we continue in our pathway, enlightening one another, right? And I think the beauty that we can carry with us, always, especially after we learn and come in contact with Spiritism, that there is life after life. There is a continuation. So whatever we do, whatever, even if when we're doing the wrong things of life, there is a continuation. The case that you brought, it was an unfortunate case, but there is a continuation after, right? To continue to fix the things of the past, and to have someone, a spirit, to come back and tell us, don't do this. This is what you're going to go through. Even though there is the mercy of God, we have to go back and fix it. It's just a beautiful enlightenment to all of us. So for that, we thank you for bringing these thoughts. And we would like to finalize, as usual, with one another by praying. Before we go into our prayer, remember that we ought to be a friend. We ought to extend a hand to one another, as well as extend your hand and ask for help. Say something, right? And call someone. Be connected. Read. Go after. Life is about life. Everything around us stimulate us to get up, to move, and to do the things that we have to do. So let us thank our dear Creator then, finding a comfortable position, but yet straight, where we can truly connect with the higher minds. Giving thanks for this amazing opportunity that we have to sit down for a little over an hour and discuss these matters, explore opportunities, explore the minds and the teachings that have been brought to us to analyze the grandeur of life. How much work has been put into this reincarnation before we came into this physical body? How much work has been done by our parents, by those around us, for us to be here? The beauty of nature, the nature around us, the nature of our bodies, everything screaming out loud to us in a positive way to go on, to be positive about the future. And we pray for all of those who are going through these tough times right now to overcome their challenges by simply asking for help and analyzing a different perspective in life. We pray, dear Lord, and we ask that we can be guided to change the scenario, the percentages that we saw today of suicide, and perhaps be like Nevada, the only state in the US, as portrayed in this talk tonight, to have a decreasing number of suicide. We pray for this nation, we pray for this globe, not only for the actual act of suicide, but everything that goes against life, goes against anything that may hurt us. We are thankful for this moment, for this enlightenment, for one another, praying that our homes, our hearts are safe, physically, spiritually, and morally. Until we meet again, we thank you, and so be it. All right, dear friends, we'll see you next time. And next week, we'll be giving continuation to these talks. I will actually be conducting 2 new chapters of the book, and there's a lot to learn. And please take this message that Daniel brought to us tonight to heart, because some of the comments that we will bring next week will be based on this actually. This idea of the things that we do and the repercussions that will have in our lives and the lives of many as well. In the transition that we're going through, in the transition of planet Earth in general. So thank you, and
Thank
until
you,
next
Leo.
time, thank you.